know how we giving it up here on the fan point of view. We got a couple of topics that we're gonna run through today. We're gonna talk about a little bit of Nick Saban, what's going on with that situation. We're gonna give our top 5 point guards in the NBA. And we're gonna talk about a little bit of NFL free agency. You know what I'm saying? But I'm trying to start this new thing I got going on. So before I get into a show, I got something to say, So I'm gonna go ahead. And then I'm gonna let Shad go ahead and do his. So when you are on the road, when you're traveling on a road and the fog restricts your sight, you still know where you're going the right way. You may have to slow down and get out the fast lane, but you will still make it to your destination safely. All right. That's what I got. That's what I got. Let that resonate with you for a second. You know what I'm saying? All right. So what you wanted to say, bro? What was you talking about? Aaron Donald? That's what you wanted to lead off with before we jumped into it?
Yeah, Aaron Donald just recently retired, right? So
Mhm.
I'm just kind of looking at it because what ends up happening is when you living in the moment, and we actually got to watch Aaron Donald go to work and things like that, we automatically gonna say, well, is he the greatest defensive player of all time? And then
Uh-huh.
sometimes you come back to reality, you got to look at it. So I went to go look at just his numbers versus Reggie White, right? And Aaron Donald got 111 sacks. Reggie White got 198. Aaron Donald got 543 total tackles. Reggie White has 1,111.
Yeah.
Due to the fact that when Reggie White played, Pro Football Reference doesn't have his tackles for losses, nor do they have his QB hits. However, he did win 2 Defensive Player of the Year awards, while Aaron Donald won 3. So the question again, like I said, we're gonna get into this next week. The question is, numbers aside, did Aaron Donald have a bigger impact on the game of football than Reggie White did?
Hey, it's a good one, man. That is a great one. We're gonna jump into that next week. So make sure that y'all here. What up, Pilo stopping through in the building? What up, Mr. Overdose? Thank y'all for coming through. Make sure y'all hit that like button for me and share. You know what I mean? I appreciate y'all coming through, kicking it down with that. So let's get this slide pulled up, man. We about to get up into it. Y'all bring it in the chat. Bring it hard today, man, because we is getting up into this, none other. So, my fault, bro. I ain't mean to drop you out like that, bro. I didn't mean to do that. I did not mean to do that, bro. Here I go playing with. All right, there we go. All right. So the slide y'all see over there is Nick Saban. Obviously, everybody's seen what happened with Nick Saban in Congress. He went to meet with Congress, bruh. And and he got to talking some ish. You know what I'm saying? A lot of things. And I took some keynotes down from the whole situation, right? So one thing I want to get in there talking about first was when he talked about how he sent some players and some NFL coaches came back and told him that these guys were underdeveloped, coming to him underdeveloped. So the question is, like, is that more proof that some of these coaches are not developing their talent and they're just acquiring the talent? Is that a fact that a lot of these guys out here do not know what they are doing when it comes down to X's and O's on the field, and they're just getting by with pure talent? Like, you know what I mean? That's one key point that I got from it. Another one, okay, I'm gonna keep it going since you didn't butt in on that.
Oh no, I was
Yeah.
just letting you cook. I was letting you cook.
Okay. Does Nick Saban have a personal agenda with this? Okay. And if you say no, then I would ask back, well, why did he wait to retire to start speaking on these issues? Okay. I got a lot to let's just start with those two, bro. Let's just get those two out the way right now because I got more keynotes and I'm sure that you do too. Because look, this whole thing with him sitting down with Congress, I'm like, man, yeah, like, okay, I respect it, but because he did say something about revenue, and that we'll talk about that. We'll probably jump into that a little bit later where they was talking about revenue and everything, revenue share. Instead, he don't want the kids to be employees, and he wants to revenue share with the with the players and whatnot. But man, let's start with that, bro. Give me your thoughts on those two right there, bro.
Well, in terms of development, I've always because a lot of fan bases they live and die by recruiting. They live and die by what these recruiting sites say that these particular players are forecast to be. Now, some people try to argue and say, "Oh well, coaches they're actually doing evaluating. They boots on the ground. They're scouting these particular players." And it's just too many players for anyone to realistically believe that that is exactly what they're doing. I
Right.
believe they are dependent upon these particular sites. Now, what's interesting about this, in the words of Yo Gotti, put a date on it. Nick, when did this NFL coach come and say this to you? Because I know he didn't just recently say that. That has to be something that you kept in the chamber, and I'm sure that that's not something that just started this particular year, or as they're trying to say, the NIL era. Because for instance, Nick Saban, I remember you had a cornerback. You are the secondary coach. You were the secondary coach. You had a highly rated defensive back, cornerback named D. Milner,
Mm-hmm.
drafted in the first round by the New York Jets. D. Milner flamed out. So
Yeah.
are you so you to tell me that he flamed out? Are you to tell me that he was developed correctly? Now, I don't like to put a lot of emphasis on what a guy does in the NFL based on what his collegiate career is, but that was an epic failure. Nick Saban, what about Trent Richardson? He
Another,
flamed out.
another one.
So these are not guys that played in the NIL era or this current form of NIL era, because the NIL will not pay for players always been around. So
Mm-hmm.
again, Nick, put a date on it. Just
Right.
just just put a date on it. When did this coach say this? You know what
When
I mean?
and where? You're
Yeah,
right.
yeah. Because that's not something that he just recently told you.
No.
He been said
Mm.
Alabama has had their fair share of players that have flamed out. Now, obviously, you got a Derrick Henry, Minka Fitzpatrick, a Dre Kirkpatrick at that. At one point in time, you got you got a couple of guys.
Bruh.
But for
He
the
has
amount
some
of
stacked teams, bruh. I
yeah,
mean, he has some guys, you know what I'm saying, that turned into stars on teams. And that's another question I want to ask you. Do you feel like Nick Saban and do y'all everybody, do y'all feel like Nick Saban was like jealous of this era because he's not able to just hoard talent after talent after talent? You know what I mean? Like, I mean, so for instance, like, okay, let me put this down. Like, for instance, so back in, like, we're gonna go back to 2013 with this one. Okay. So he had Derrick Henry as a freshman at running back, right? And then he also had, let's remember, he had Alvin Kamara also too as a freshman on that roster. He also had Reuben Foster, Chris Black was a wide receiver, Ryan Anderson, a linebacker, Landon Collins as a DB, Amari Cooper, Kenyon Drake as a sophomore running back. I may add OJ Howard, and he had TJ Yeldon as a sophomore. Is he upset that he just can't have that backfield? Because I mean, you could have took all four of those running backs that's on that one roster, and you could have placed them around in the NCAA, and they would have had 1,000-yard seasons. Do y'all agree?
yeah.
So is he mad that he can no longer do that? I think that's, a part of me feels like that, bro. Like, these coaches, these old coaches feel like they can't do that anymore. They can't just hoard talent on rosters. I mean, come on. Those is all, would you argue? You can even argue all of those are like first round picks. TJ Yeldon coming out of college, Alvin Kamara, Derrick Henry, and Kenyon Drake. Come on, bro. Come on, bro. All on the same roster in 2013.
Yeah.
And since he can't do that anymore and hold them there, it become a problem. Why not speak then? He didn't want to speak out then. That running game was set. We know the SEC is known for getting the big guys. They get their big guys. His game was set for the next 4 years after that. So I mean, I kind of feel like that in a way, but he did speak in such a way to make you feel like and believe that he was not malicious with his intent. May I go on? I mean, we can talk about these rosters because we all know that Alabama's rosters and Georgia's rosters was just crazy hoarded with talent. We can even go LSU. You know what I mean?
Yeah, LSU, Ohio State, throw USC in there. I mean, yeah. I mean, it was a small collection of schools, but what was funny because you got like again going back to the recruiting services, they had like an ESPN top 300. So
Mm-hmm.
basically, when you look at that when you look at it is simplistically, you're basically saying that the top 300 players can go to 10 schools.
Right.
They have 30 guys.
Mm-hmm.
10 schools could get all of the ESPN top 300 guys, right? So, yeah. But to kind of piggyback off that before you move on, it is he mentioned the NFL. Now, no one is. This is not new, right?
Mm-hmm.
People said that's why Nick left the NFL. He didn't feel like he had enough control over the situation. But to kind of get back to the hoarding talent situation, we understand the NFL roster has 53 guys on it. A college football roster, you're talking about 75 plus guys. And Alabama uniquely was able to do something called gray shirting, where the guy they found some people somewhere
Huh?
to go to school so they could oversign guys, right? Um,
What?
I, I did one of my first videos I did on my channel when I first started. I said the transfer portal is going to separate the coaches from the recruiters. Now, this particular situation with Nick Saban, it's we're gonna people are already looking at Nick Saban's side out anyway, right? They're already questioning, well, how good are you because you were able to hoard all this talent.
Right.
And me, this is just going to make those cries that much louder. But I will say this though. I will say this. Not to put all the weight on Nick Saban's shoulders. I don't think Nick Saban is the only one that feels this way. He's just the only one that's gonna come out and say it.
Facts. Facts. That's a fact. I believe that. I believe that, bro. I believe that too. You know what I'm saying? And you know, I hate to feel that, to seem like we just sitting here picking on him, but I know that I know there's a whole bunch of them old school type coaches that feel the same way as he's feeling. You know what I mean? A lot of guys don't feel like pay for players in here is fair. They feel like it's not fair, and that's the way they're looking at it. But in a sense, how do they gain any kind of control with this quote on air quote pay for play era that we're in right now in the NCAA college football?
I mean, me personally, and I've said this. This may not be the most um, thought out opinion. Well,
Mhm.
this might not be the most accepted opinion, but I'll just let it run its course. I don't just. I mean,
Okay.
anything that goes unmonitored or anything that just runs wild, eventually is going to come to an end. You just have to weather the storm. To be honest, I wouldn't. I say this: current way transfer portal, pay for play. I think another 5 years max.
Hmm.
Because what's going to happen is just I mean we can bring this to real life situation, right? You
Let's
got a
do.
household, right? So say for instance I'm paying just say we paying the light bill, right?
Right.
We paying the light bill, but eventually, but well, no, let's say the internet, right? We're paying for the best internet, and they're not giving us the best service for the internet.
Mm,
What's going to end up happening?
mm.
I'm gonna go somewhere else. Or I'm gonna hold my money. We're gonna try to, especially in a large situation, because people do have power.
That's
So
right.
they can stand up to this and say, look, we're not doing this anymore. We're gonna force your hand to change this. Similar to like companies do with the union, like when they go on strike. We're not
Right.
working. You can't replace us. Something has to change. So I think that's what's going to end up happening. I don't think money people are going to continue to throw money at it, and there's no return on investment. Um, you're
Right.
not winning. You as a coach have come to me and said, "Hey, look, I need 100,000 for this player. I give you the 100,000. This player can't see the field, and you gave him all the opportunities in the world. I'm going to start looking at you side because I'm going to start saying, well, do you really know what you're looking at? I just gave you 100K for this player.
Yeah.
He can't play. So
Right.
yeah,
Here
so
you go.
another 5 years, I think this gonna blow over. But again, everyone's gonna make
Yeah.
a big deal about it about right now. But it's gonna crash and burn.
Yeah. I mean, because I feel that. I mean, how you want money and I ain't seen what you done. Now I can understand somebody who's 1,000 yard rusher, yeah, wide receiver, 900 yards, 12 touchdowns. What are you paying for? You can't pay somebody, and some of these guys is just coming straight out of high school though and wanting money off the bat, Um, and with that saying, the last question I want to ask you, bro, for you, do you think that contracts are inevitably coming? Are they coming? Or is that coming? Do you think that that's what he was heading towards with this whole situation? Contracts are on the way.
I mean, I know that's the stance that you had with it, and I think I look at it like this. Even if you do bring a contract, to me, I kind of look at it like the NBA. Whereas like in NFL, you're signing 4 and 5 year contracts. NBA, you
Hmm.
like a 2 year contract with a second year option. So I think if anything, it'll come to that. But then you going people are gonna get jobs because you're gonna have to unionize or you're gonna have to have some type of you know association speak for you. So they're
Hmm.
gonna end up getting a cut of it, right? So it's gonna get into that. But again, like I said, the more you talk about it, the more other people talk about it. I do think it will be contracts, but I don't necessarily. But then again, the question then becomes, okay, if I'm giving you a contract, where's the scholarship for?
I think you know what, that is gonna be almost become just a whole part of it. I mean, because you can say that a scholarship is almost a contract, right? A binding agreement, especially when you're looking at student athletes and how the system is ran in at a college level, right? So you can sit here and you can say that that is almost a contract, a binding agreement between the university and the student. You know what I mean? But the problem is these parents that are coming in, or uncles, momagers, dadagers coming in, not having the experience to help this child with this money, and that's the problem that's going on here. But I think it's coming. It's coming. Without a doubt, contracts are going to be a part of this. And, I wrote something down really quick. So just, spitballing, right? For a student to gain any more money on a contract, they must maintain at least a 3.3 grade point average, etc. Something like that. Okay. Will probably be coming into play here. Um, Nick Saban says that he's in agreement with the student athletes getting share in revenue, which is a lot of money if you break that down. Um, so with all that being said, bro, I do think contracts is how you get a hand on this. How are you going to do that? I don't know. That's for them to figure out. We could come up with a whole bunch of ways to speculate and to guess and say this way, that way, this way it work. But look, in the end, we're not the NCAA. We're not that university, but it's going to happen. And that's the only way you're going to get some kind of handle on what's taking place right now with this name, image, and likeness and so forth. You know what I mean? That's what I got, bro.
And I'll say this in closing about the revenue sharing thing. Now, what's interesting about that is I don't know if you watched it, but it's a documentary. It's on YouTube. It's about Don King. And
Hmm.
so there's a particular story on there about a boxer. And what he spoke about was that they had a fight, I think in the UK, right? So Don King was his promoter, and Don King had his stepson to be his manager, right? So they both getting a percentage of the cut. So when he got back, home, he won the fight and he got his, settlement. And so what he saw on there was like Don King charging for hotel fees, airline fees, all this stuff. So what I'm getting at in a nutshell is if you do the revenue sharing,
Right.
I feel like they would do it in such a way that they are going to give it to you not from the gross, they're going to give it to you from the net. And so they give it to you from the net, just like, I mean, again, just like our paycheck. We love to, hey, give me the gross. I don't
Mm-hmm.
want the net. I don't care about the Social Security, the insurance, 401k, just give me the gross. You know what I'm saying? Just give me the gross. So I think if you do it from a revenue sharing standpoint, they're going to give it to you from the net. And I don't think it's going to be anywhere near what
Right.
these guys are making right now in the free market, so to speak. But
Yeah.
that's my thoughts. That's my thoughts about that because obviously Jim Harbaugh spoke about that, giving revenue sharing. And obviously we say,
Yep.
oh, it's $1 billion business, but it's like, okay, well, what does it look like after the fact? Because a lot of people don't like to talk about it, but a lot of these athletic programs, they actually go, they're in the negative at the end of the year because they spend so much.
Mm-hmm.
So and I think what ends up happening is people think that the school is paying them. It's not the school; these are the boosters. So I think that'll be a lot of red tape right there of trying to figure out, okay, I'm going to approve you for doing this, doing this, and then business is cyclical. Like you may have a great year, and then you can contribute more, but then the next year business is down, you can't contribute as much. You see what I'm saying? So I
Yeah.
mean, again, like I said, we could talk about this all day and all night. But
All day. I mean, yeah, man. Because yo, man, when I first seen it, when I sat there and I watched it, I said, man, I said, wow, this is deep, and but my ultimate feelings from that was just, like wow, like Nick Saban, Kirby probably got something to say about it. All these coaches that just had these teams that were stacked for years had something to say about this. You know what I mean? Like it's and it just always takes me back to guys, and I know I said this a lot of times, but the Fab Five in Michigan, they was robbed the most. And if name, image, and likeness was in when they were there, I mean, it was a UNLV basketball team that could have profited a lot from that, but they took college hoops to a whole new level, man, and they missed out on a lot. Michigan made billions, millions and dollars off of that squad, man. And it just kind of makes me like, man, here you are like with this whole roster of superstars in college complaining about this. You know what I mean? And it almost seemed like that, but then like I said, he had other good points to talk about and to make it, seem as if he was on both sides. But, ultimately it was just because look, I can get a star in Alabama, but I can't get 12
yeah,
5-star running backs at the same time on a roster. So, that's
yeah,
all I got to say in that, bro. Let's see what we moving on to, y'all. Let's keep it rolling with me. Make sure y'all hit that like button out there for us, man. Appreciate y'all checking in with us out in the chat. I see you, Katie.